All right. Bam. We're live. Let a little more light in. Bear with me 1 minute. Get everything situated here. Okay. Welcome. We're just getting started. If you're new, let me know where you're from. What part of the country you're in. We'll have a few more join in a few minutes. We'll be talking about the most profitable meeting for a remodeler. All right. Let me get, if you join the YouTube, you can see some slides. Otherwise, there'll be a little bit of a discussion here for sure. Testing, make sure the speaker works. All right. That looks good. All right, so we'll get started. So welcome. If you're new, please let me know. Hey, Justin, welcome. Thank you for joining. We're just getting started. Talk about the be a shorter one, hopefully tonight, possibly. It's cold where I am. Welcome. We're gonna do a pre-construction meeting. So we're still in that part where we talk about the journey for the client. All right. So happy Friday. Hopefully you guys had a good week. And we'll finish strong here. So the funny thing about remodeling, especially like I said, this is for those people when you have a longer project. You work so hard to get it, and then you have to work so hard to finish the job. But there's this one thing that you can do in the very beginning that totally dictates how the entire project will go. Yes, sir. Happy Friday. And it's called a pre-construction meeting. Now, if you grow your team to the point where you have somebody other than the person doing the work selling the pre-construction meetings are crucial because whether you like it or not, whether you're aware of it or not, the reality of the world is people buy based off of emotions when they're dealing with a human being. And also they buy off of emotions when they buy online because they're saying, this is what this thing is going to do for me. That's why you buy something typically. There's a future version of yourself that will be better if you have the thing than the money that's in your pocket. That's why you buy something. Because if the future version of you said, I want to be happier by keeping my money, you don't buy, right? It's very, very simple psychology that breaks down. Okay. So in construction, the homeowner is willing to purchase remodeling because in their mind, the future is going to be brighter, bigger, better. That's why they're willing to give you money and put up with your chaos and all the problems that you're going to bring to the job site, right? All right. So the best thing to do is remember that homeowners don't know remodeling and they get confused. So if you have one appointment where you sell it and they sign all your paperwork and then the project doesn't start for 3 months and then you show up, they've forgotten a lot. And then they're going to get frustrated, agitated. They're going to blame you. And it's all going to be your fault because in their mind, they told you things. And what my experience has been is that most homeowners recognize later that they probably didn't tell you everything that they thought they did because they told it to the other guy because they met with 3, 4, 6 people and they can't possibly remember all the different conversations. So even though they signed the agreement with you to go forward, they don't actually recall exactly what they said to you. And you do because you wrote it down in the agreement. Now, people sign things without reading it. I would literally, when a homeowner does a contract, give me a second. It's in this. I will have them, me and them together, we read the contract. I know it sounds silly. I go over the permit section. I go over the right to stop work. I go over I read this to them, with them, and I make sure that, and the amount of homeowners that have said to me, Mike, we've never had anyone ever do a contract with us. Everyone just tells us to sign it and we flip it and move on. And what you'll find is that this is what a pre-construction meeting also does, is you go back over your agreement with the homeowner and you make sure that everything that they bought from you that you're about to do is still everything that they want. And you reiterate the timelines. That's a pre-construction meeting. So I'll give you a few more details here. It sounds stupid. I know, believe me, but I'm telling you right now, if you've ever done, and some of you've heard me talk about this, if you ever had the exercise where there's 10, 20 people in a room and you get in a circle or you do a straight line and one person tells the next person, hey, repeat this to the next person. It is never the same thing at the end as it was in the beginning. You think you're saying what you're saying. You think the homeowner is hearing what you're saying. They're not. They are hearing what they want to hear or don't want to hear. And a lot of things get lost in translation. This is real. I don't care how good of a communicator you think you are. Even tonight, just us talking here, there'll be some sort of a miscommunication. I will think it means one thing, you'll think it means another, and we could both be wrong. It happens all day, every day. So that's why you go back over the written paperwork as often. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm just flipping through my notes for those of you that don't see what I'm doing right now. So this is a remodeler's. This really is a secret weapon. Contractors that do this will not talk about it typically because it is so successful that, and understand the way the business works. Most remodelers don't always know what makes them successful. That's why they're tight-lipped. They've had to work really fucking hard to make it last and survive. And they're not about to sacrifice the last 10 or 15 years that it took them to grow their business and just give these secrets away to some young kid or the new guy on the block. So for the longest time, a lot of these business hacks have been really held tight by contractors and remodelers. And only the most successful guys have these policies in the first place. So a lot of you guys might not have even worked for a company that even did a pre-construction meeting. You might not even understand the concept. It's really, it totally separates companies from performance as far, especially for those of you that are looking to get reviews on your social media, on your Google account, and you want better referrals, more referrals. The pre-construction meeting is I hate the term. It's a game changer. It literally will shift your entire business. This is not software based. This is not some sales thing. It's just a meeting where you take whatever was sold and you transform it into, this is how we're going to produce it, ma'am. We're getting ready to start next Tuesday. Here's a copy of the schedule, right? And this is how we're going to do it. It's very underrated and it's totally underutilized. So here's who attends pre-construction meetings. Whoever sold the job, whoever's going to produce the job, and then your subs. So like Justin, for your trade, often I will have my plumbing subcontractor, my electrical subcontractor, and possibly the HVAC all attend a pre-construction meeting. And you might be saying, Mike, that sounds crazy. And here's the thing, by you showing up for what it is for you, I'm going to be there about 45 minutes as the GC. You are going to be there about 15 minutes. All it is a meet and greet. You get to stop in. It's your pre-introduction to the client, your pre-introduction to the job. And then very quickly, we go over the scope. It gives you a second just to walk through the house. and make sure that it's all the things that we've discussed. Because sometimes, believe it or not, some of my subs don't ever go to the site to give me a price. We work off of photos and me communicating to them. Some do, but many don't. And believe it or not, this process works really well for us, because when you've been doing something enough times, I know typically all the information that my subs need to make a decision on how much to charge for the job. Now, some of them have been out to the job site and some haven't, but in any fashion, they need to come out for about 15 minutes and we do a proper introduction. All right. So that's who shows up for this meeting. Now, here's what happens. It happens right after the contract is signed and right before the job starts. So no hammer has been swung, no demo has been done. Customers know how to do the work, but love. Yeah, no, that's a very good point, Justin. Yeah, I think your language that's a good way to put it. When you show the homeowner that you're very concerned about their house and the project, and you're willing to take this one extra meeting to bring the team together right before we commence, um, they walk away very appreciative and often shocked, because most homeowners have never done one. Typically, when I'm running a pre-construction meeting, unless they've done high-end remodels in the past, they're not even familiar with the process. They're like, "What are we doing in this meeting?" So the big picture is we just review the contract and we review the scope and the schedule, because most homeowners haven't been privied or been presented the full schedule. This meeting, they get the full schedule. And this is a good point for the contractor to walk the homeowner through any potential pitfalls, any tricky situations, and we get clarification for the following. We make sure there's complete clarity. Where do the guys park vehicles for works every time, makes it yes, 100%. Yes, when you do this process, you're making your change orders much simpler, because you're telling the homeowner, here is how we're going to handle anything that comes up that is not specifically lined out in this scope of work. And Mr. and Mrs. I like to use this line a lot. I'll say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you, like many of our other clients, are probably going to notice how great our crew is. And while we're working here, fixing this problem that you've hired us for, you're going to go, gosh, I really wish those guys could fix this other thing that I didn't remind you or I didn't think of. And you're going to want us to fix a bunch of other things while we're here. We're happy to assist you with that. Any extra thing that you want done, you just ask, put in a request with my project manager. And what he's going to do is come up with the process for what it's going to take to make that repair or finish that request, the time that it's going to take to impact our schedule that we currently have with you, and the cost that it's going to come out of your pocket. I don't say it that way, but basically what the impact is to the budget, right? Because change orders are additional typically, and they're paid for separately, and they're paid for in full upfront before any work gets done. Very simple. Also, at the pre-construction meeting, you show the chain of command. So me, as the owner of the company or the salesperson, this is where I exit the communication loop. I say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I am now handing over the project to our lead carpenter. That is now who you communicate with on a daily basis. I might stop by, say hi. I care about your project. I'm going to look at the photos, but you don't call me if there's an issue with the job. You call Joey. Joey is your project manager. Joey's going to run this job till the end. And because Joey's on site now and I hand that transition over, they get to shake Joey's hands. They don't have all this anxiety about when Joey shows up the first day, which is what happens for most contractors. Your carpenters, your install guys are amazing, but the homeowner doesn't know them and they're anxious and nervous and frustrated. We figure out where the guys are going to park so that the homeowners don't get pissed off. We're going to figure out what door, how are the guys going to enter the site? Where do the guys stage materials properly? If we're allowed to use a facility and like a lavatory, which one are we going to use? Or if we're getting a porta pot delivered, where is that going to be staged on the property? We go over pets. We are not pet babysitters when we're remodeling. That is 100% the homeowner's responsibility, or they need to get a pet sitter, or the dog or pet needs to go off to doggy daycare, and stay at a kennel, boarding place, whatever. Um, I explained to them that we are professional carpenters. We're not professional dog sitters. So don't expect us to be making sure the cat doesn't get out. That's your responsibility. So you have to have that clear. I've been asked, and in the very beginning, I took on that responsibility. And the first time I had to go look for a cat at 7 o'clock at night was the last time I decided I will ever be looking for somebody's cat that got out of the house, because we were carrying crap in both hands and we had to like kick the door open, and we couldn't even see that the cat just ran out the door. Does that make sense? So don't even put yourself in the situation. You just bring it up. We are not managing your pets. You have to manage them. All right. So this is how two remodelers can take the same project and get two different results. If we do a pre-construction meeting, our homeowner is going to be much happier with us. We're going to get the job done much simpler, much quicker, more efficient. We have a detailed schedule that everyone follows, whereas the other guy is going to be dealing with a lot of issues, headaches, and drama. All right. So any questions, any comments? What are your all's thoughts? I got a bunch of comments here. I guess I was missing. Hold on. So thank you. Justin, I appreciate what you've been putting in here. Thank you so much. Yeah, so that's been my experience with a pre-construction meeting. It works wonders. If you've ever been a part of one, please don't mistake its simplicity for its effectiveness. Yes. And I can share, it's funny. Sometimes I'll work with the owner of a company on their business, and the owner likes to always think that the problem in the company is all the people that work for him or her. And so there's a company in our area that, yeah, exactly, Justin. You before you start doing the work, you do a refresh, right? And you make sure that you and the customer are on the same page. It's so simple, and yet the amount of people that just don't do it, it's mind-boggling. So good for you, man. Yeah, it's going to always lead to so much more clarity and happiness, because it takes the anxiety away. Yeah, exactly. Make sure you didn't forget anything. Correct. Make sure the homeowner. I'm telling you, I've had multiple homeowners that were convinced that they told me something, only to later realize they're like, Mike, we had that conversation with the other contractor. We didn't hire him. We ended up hiring you. And I forgot that we never even discussed that with you. Justin, what's happening? Good to see you. So, but yeah, the pre-construction meeting really is, it's like this little unknown secret weapon that when you come in and you utilize it. So this one company, I give you, this is so funny. So this guy's running a multi-million-dollar company. Sure. No, you most likely don't, because you've met the homeowner and you wrote notes and you were paying attention. The homeowner is often the ones that are scatterbrained and have met with 5 other contractors and they forget what they even asked for. So imagine this. Here you are. You're the owner of this company. You have multiple sales reps. You have multiple project managers. And yet you have a lot of problems on your jobs, and you're convinced that your project managers don't know what they're doing. You're convinced that the laborers. So this one owner of the company, he was convinced that it was everyone else's fault. So I'm working with his project managers, his other sales reps. I start introducing the pre-construction meeting, and everybody's raving about how good it is and it's changing their jobs. So the owner finally says, hey, would you, let's do a pre-construction meeting with my next job. I was like, absolutely. And that homeowner, that business owner, walked out of that meeting and he pulled me aside and wouldn't let me leave. He goes, I've never witnessed anything like that. Like, what is it that you just did? We've tried pre-construction meetings before. And I was like, well, Yeah, but did you have like notes? Do you have a process? Like, do you address the homeowner's concerns or and he had never seen anything like that. And what he realized was most of the problems that he was having on the job were him. He wasn't communicating properly. He didn't even know how to communicate. He was like, "Well, I give the guys a contract. They see our contract. What do you mean? Why do I have to do more?" And the average person just doesn't even understand that that is not good communication. A pre-construction meeting gets everything covered and sets the stage. And all of a sudden, their reviews started going up. All of a sudden, their referrals, and they were becoming more profitable because the guys were making less mistakes. The guys weren't making mistakes on the job because they don't know what they're doing. They were making mistakes because the owner of the company didn't know how to properly explain to them what the job was because he just wrote up a scope and he would forget things and make mistakes. And anyway, so pretty powerful process. So what's happening for everybody? Anybody have a fun project, challenging project? Anything anybody want to talk about that's happening in their business this week or next week? Have you guys heard about the new trend of this is becoming huge? So, the Gen Zs and the millennials are having a hard time affording homes, but the baby boomers have all the money. So baby boomers are now buying houses with their kids, and also they're funding the remodeling projects. So some of you guys have to recognize that you've got a whole new market out there, and you should be advertising to these young kids who you originally thought didn't have any money, and they don't, but their parents do. And their parents are paying for all these upgrades because their parents feel bad and don't want their kids to live in squalor. So it changes the dynamic a little bit. Like in my state, both homeowners have to sign the contract. So if a kid who's 25 owns a house and his parents own it together, but the parents are out of state, you're gonna have to start doing like a Zoom call. You're gonna have to get a process where you can email the documents so that the parents can sign it as well. Yeah, sign you up. So it's where it gets interesting is you can start advertising to that. You can start letting kids know that, hey, we have a process where we can work with multiple, owners of a project. Hey, if your parents are helping you out with your remodel, we get it. We understand it. I don't know. There's different angles that you could play, but don't overlook the young kids who traditionally, I would say they have no money, but they don't, but their parents do. And it's becoming a growing trend, the amount of parents that are co-signing on these properties and these loans. So, and these projects paying, parents are paying for an entire like outdoor living space upgrade because they want something nice when they come visit their grandkids, and they're tired of their kids living in these crappy houses. So, it's a interesting time in the economy because, Jay Allen, people our age and older, if we bought our houses a while ago, it can be a nice situation, right? We have a house, we have a lower mortgage rate, we have equity. Whereas the kids today trying to buy it, I mean, everything's against them. So, yeah, yeah. I have some relatives that are in that baby boomer. Oh, very cool. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. So that place where when you were on the call the other day, that was you built that structure, the overhang. That was your backyard. That maybe where you were taking the video from. Yeah. Now it makes sense, man. Good for you. Yep, the pad. So, are you skilled in a lot of the other disciplines outs more than just the plumbing? Like, like did you GC it and do some of the work, or what was the extent of to what you built your place? Oh, believe me, I remember the $65 a square foot days. Okay, you moved. All right, very cool. Okay, so you just kept the foundation. Is that what I'm reading? I bet you have some cool pictures. That was probably a fun project. Hmm. Hold on, TikTok's uh is filtering you. Hold on a second, Justin. God damn. Pier and beam. Interesting. So what, does your place date back? Was yours like a 1900s build before I'm assuming before the 50s, before the war? Yeah. No, I'm telling you this, the more you're on the TikTok app, the more you learn. It listens, it watches everything, and it's like Big Brother, man. If you just use one word that it doesn't like, I started making a list. Hold on. Any of these phrases will get you banned or kicked off of TikTok. It's it's crazy. Oh, so you moved it from another location. Very cool. Man, that's an awesome story. 70-28 now. Damn. That's real nice. So it's like a what do they call that? Like a shotgun style, 70 by 28. That's nice size. That's a big patio. Oh, very cool. Man, you and your dad could have started this a remodeling business years ago. You guys would have been set. Plumbers, electricians. You've been stacking cash all day long. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. All right. So settle the debate. Who's neater, the electrician or the plumber on a job site? If you and your dad show up, who's leaving the house in nicer shape? That all the electricians say they are, but yet they're the ones I swear I feel like they clean up the least. Mm. Oh, that's awesome. Well, hey, say hi to Papa Papa Allen. That's awesome. I bet you it's pretty cool that you were able to see the trades probably at a younger age and see it through his eyes, and he probably can share. I bet he distilled a lot of your wisdom over to you, maybe. You know what I mean? You probably were able to get a lot of the hard-earned lessons that he probably had to go through running his, being an electrician and then being able to pass some of that down to you. Probably telling you how crazy you were for getting into the trade. Yeah. Really, I'm a little hey, it is what it is. Part of me is like, "Damn." But, whatever. That's alright. You probably just wanted to make life more challenging. So you're like, "I'm gonna go learn something completely different." Yeah, right? Can't tell you. You're gonna do it your way. I got you. Mm. Well, good. That's awesome. Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so my father's more automotively, he's mechanically inclined in general. He's more of like an artistic type too, but he repaired like machinery with like a steep longshoreman type work. Worked down at our port growing up and would work on machinery that had that the whatever the people needed at the port to have running, I guess is the best way to explain it. So, not necessarily, I mean, he understands basic construction, but um, yeah, it was just, I don't know why I didn't get into it either. It wasn't like growing up, it wasn't, well, I could say this, it wasn't like my father said, you should do what I do at all. He never said that. He didn't really say much about what I should do. And not in a bad way. He just, I don't know, I guess he just let me figure out on my own what I was going to do. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, maybe he didn't want me to do what he was doing with him. I don't know. Or, I don't know. But it's, yeah, all good things. Well, that's really cool. Yeah, very cool. Well, I bet your dad, it's probably neat for him to see you do what you do. I bet he's probably proud of you. He's probably going to give you a pat on the back right now or tell you, you better get to work. Which one is it? He'd be like, son, what are you doing on that crazy TikTok app? Get to work. You should be working. Mm. So, well, I'm gonna tell you what, Jayon, if there's anything you want to talk about, or please let me know. Otherwise, maybe tonight we're just a little shorter. I'm still not certain how tomorrow's gonna play out. I'll have to figure that out. I don't know. Anyhow, okay, thank you. Um, well, I'll do this. Let's see. So you probably already know these. I'll just read through them real quick. Um, the things that I find that your pre-con, you should definitely, and you probably already do this. The 7 things I have, but this will go on that recording in case somebody's watching it later. You, when you're meeting with the homeowner, you do a scope of work recap. You show them the timeline. They understand what work is going to be done when and how long the whole project's going to take. You go over the job site access. Where are we to park? How do we come in and out of the property? The communication chain, who talks to who and how. Is it, do we text each other? So in my area, we have a lot of government employees that work for nondescript government agencies. So what that means is they cannot take personal cell phones into their office building. A lot of these facilities have uh, gated parking lots that are surveillanced. So what the worker has to do is leave. Their personal cell phone has to stay in their car, and when they come into their office, they only have access to like maybe an email account to communicate with the outside world. So I can't. We have limited ways of communicating with a lot of our clients. So a lot of times it's just, it presents. So anyway, a pre-construction meeting, you have to uncover all that if it hasn't already been uncovered earlier. Typically it's uncovered earlier, but sometimes not. So you have to figure out how we're going to communicate with each other during the day. Um, we go over the house rules, and we discuss pets for sure. We introduce the crew, and then we make sure we walk through the paperwork, and then any questions that the client has. A lot of times I find clients want to ask us to do additional work during the pre-construction meeting. It's kind of crazy because it's for whatever reason, that non-threatening, we're just here to talk about the project. And then for a lot of and then the clients learn more about what we do, how we do it. So I find a lot of times in the pre-construction meeting, we're actually booking more work. So that's always a benefit to doing projects that way as well. And it gives you another excuse to say, by the way, have you been talking to friends and neighbors about the project? Is everybody as excited as you are? Awesome. And I'll be like, is there anybody that you think I should talk to? Do any of your friends say that they're looking to have a similar project done? Could you get me their name, their number? And it's a polite way to ask for referrals. I would challenge that some people feel it's uncomfortable. They feel like it's too forward, but I would challenge you to say that's just something that is in your mind. It's your own. There's nothing wrong with asking a homeowner if they can tell you 3 people that they've had conversations with that have said, God, we'd like to have a kitchen. We're thinking about having our kitchen done. Um, Let me know your contractor's name and number. If anything like that ever comes up, I always ask the homeowner, hey, who is it? And would you mind if we reached out together? I'll ask the homeowner to do like an introduction for me. Anyway, you'd be shocked. The more you ask for referrals, the more you'll get them. And if you don't make it seem like a big deal, then the homeowner doesn't seem. But if you make it seem like, oh my God, I'm asking them to give me a referral, it's the biggest thing in the world. The homeowner can sense that. But when you just bring it up nonchalant, like, yeah, this is what my clients do. I get like 3 referrals off every job. Then all of a sudden the homeowner's like, well, I guess we just have to give them 3 referrals. And it works so it can work really well to landing your next couple jobs. I'll ask them to introduce me to the neighbors. I I do some things that some people would say are a little extra, but I want the homeowner to be super excited about their project, and I want them to share it with as many people as possible. And I just want to be a gateway that they can introduce me to any of their friends, family members, coworkers, whatever, who are also looking to have a project done. Because at the end of the day, the average complaint from the homeowner is, I don't know who to hire. And I'm like, well, hey, if it's something that we can do, I'm open to you hiring me. Let me talk to you. Let's eliminate that fear or problem that you think you can't find a good contractor. So, yes. Hey, Mikey. Yeah, so when I've talked about this transition I've done before. My first few hires were terrible. I hired people that were available, body like young kids in the neighborhood, whatever. And them, no, they didn't get benefits at first. But when I wanted to hire my first real carpenter, oh yeah, I had to get set up with a health insurance company. So in my state, there's these companies called, they're like they do planned benefits, is I think what the way it's called. So you can call them and they'll send you out a rep to meet with you to go over your business, and they'll break down all the options that are available, HSAs, all these different things, right? So we would offer our employees three options for health insurance. Well, actually, four. One was they didn't have to take our health insurance. If they had a spouse, typically if their spouse worked for the government or like was a school teacher, then it was much cheaper for them to go with their spouse. But so that was option one. They could go with someone else and then we would compensate differently. Then the other three options were three levels of health insurance that they could pick from. And what we typically did was we would cover like 75%, I think, is what I would cover. I think I would require them to pay, I don't know, it wasn't much, but they had to pay a little bit. If they wanted health insurance, they had to pay just a little bit every month. That was the way I did it. But I paid the bulk of it. I- Okay. Have you talked with do they have that in your state? Can you meet with a broker, like a benefits plan company that works with small businesses? And so here's what happens in my state. There are these five brothers that started a company with their dad, and they form like a foundational basis, and then they're able to bring on all these other companies as part of their group. So we could get cheaper health insurance because we were part of this group, and it made it look like I was a bigger company. I don't know if that's available in your state or not. Um, I would, if you could, talk to, if you have any friends that own some that are business owners, but maybe own a different type of a business, something with more employees. Like if you know somebody that owns a car dealership, if you, trying to think, I would ask a couple of those guys how they got set up for their company's health benefits. Um, and they might be able to get you in touch with somebody. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I can also share, Mikey, that the worst plan to offer is when you only have one person. It seemed like once we had five, we got a much better rate. And I'm not saying that could help you now. If you only have one, you only have one. Um, it was definitely a huge expense. On a completely side note, I really started treating my body a whole lot nicer when I became self-employed so that I wasn't so dependent upon health insurance. Like the average American like has to have health insurance, really good health insurance, because they're they see a doctor a lot. They have lots of health issues. If you That's just a side note, but yeah, 43,000, that's going to add, I hope your sales game's good so you can recoup those costs when you're meeting with a homeowner. Yeah, 100%. Exactly. Yeah, so for me, it was definitely when I hired the first, so within a very short period, I went from no lead carpenters to three and then five, all within about, it might have been 18 months, a year. I went like I grew them that quickly because as soon as I had one really good lead carpenter, it was a night and day difference. And I was like, wait a minute, if this guy can help me get this much done, if I get a second that can run all the other jobs, just I mean, I just go out and keep selling work, and now I can have 3 kitchens happening at once, right? And now my profit is tripling every week, and yet it, eh, when you have the guys doing the work, you start to see how you can leverage, right? And yeah, so the volume, if your guys are able to help you do more volume, that's one way that it'll help offset the insurance costs. The other thing is definitely, you'll look at projects a little differently for sure. Um, I would definitely talk to a couple people though. I would see if there's some sort of a flex plan that you might be able to offer to your guys. And understand this. I've worked for other companies. I've had other guys come work for me. Not all companies. So a lot of companies offer health insurance. It doesn't mean that you pay for all of it. You might just pay for part of it. You might just offer it to your guys. Um, like some a lot of companies that's 50%, or so just because you have it doesn't mean that you have to cover all of it. I hope that's clear. I mean, a lot of guys recognize that you'll give them health insurance through your company, but they have to contribute to it. Yeah, I think 50% is yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jay Allen. I would say that I think 50% is a pretty good. Another thing, Mikey, I don't know how long this guy's worked for you, but a lot of companies, you do not get health insurance when you're first starting. You have to be on with the company at least for 90 days typically, and then go through what's called the open enrollment policy. So if he's been with you for 3 years, then never mind. You're gonna just whenever open enroll. So typically, again, I don't know about your state. In my area, they have what's called open enrollment, and it's you can only join up new people into the health insurance plan at one time a year, typically. So whenever that next enrollment period is, he would say, "Hey, that's when we can get you on board." Some companies can do it other ways, but what we would do is we would offer 3 options, and obviously there's 3 price points. And obviously there were things like, the which doctors were being served, who you could see that was in your plan, in-network cost, out-of-network, like, it's all this stuff. Um, and we would hand that booklet over to the employee so that they could review it, make their choice, and our health plan representative would also work with them over the phone to answer their questions. So where I'm going with this is at no point have I ever been a health insurance expert or director of or guider. Like I let the guys know that hey, that's a benefit for working here is you can get health insurance and you'll go through that part of the process and you'll talk with the health insurance rep that works with our company and they'll explain to you how all of that works. Alls I would say to them is we pay some of it, you're going to pay some of it. And I did not really have many problems. I will say this, almost everyone that I would want to hire, that was a question they always asked me. It made it seem like it was going to be the biggest deal in the world. And when I shared with them, yes, we offer health insurance, the conversation would stop and we would talk about 7 other things. And very few of them wanted the health insurance that my company would offer. For whatever reason, in my area, a lot of them had spouses that were getting better deals. So that was just my experience. But we offered it, and yes, we had several people on it. So, yeah. So it sounds like, Mikey, for you, um, production's going to be a big key thing to focus on, right? So sure, you can raise your prices some, but the other thing you can look to do is how do we get a little more efficient out in the field to offset? Because what I'm saying is you can, if you raise the prices and you become a little more efficient out in the field, which most likely I bet you could do. The average construction company has a lot of gray area, let's call it. Yeah. I mean, if you're already 100% dialed in, well, then you're above the average remodeler. Most remodelers I work with, there's a large variance for where they could be based off of where they are. And part of that happens because in remodeling, you typically work by yourself, meaning it's not like me. If you and I are both doing kitchens, it's not like you're seeing how far I get every day on the house across the street and I see how far you get. So we don't have like that natural competitiveness to go, well, damn, those guys, they're already hanging cabinets. Like, how do we beat them? Because we work so isolated, we tend to just think we're doing well. And sometimes it takes like having some conversations with other people and recognizing, damn, they're getting their kitchens done in 4 weeks. How are they doing that? Okay. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. This is where, and you might have shared with me, you guys, I think you were sharing with me that you do a lot of different things. And that so how do I explain this? If you're the Swiss Army knife of contracting, it's awesome. You'll have job security, but you won't have job efficiency and always the job profitability that one guy. I mean, I know guys that just do mailbox replacements and are making $1 million. And that's all they do. That's it. They're a licensed contractor and they just come out and they do mailboxes, right? They either put them on, they build a brick pedestal and put the mailbox inside the brick. They put them on a wooden pole, whatever. Like some of the, because they get so fucking efficient at building the mailbox stand and post, they make a lot more profit than anyone else can. So that might drive you crazy. I'm the type of person I couldn't just only install mailboxes every single day. I have like that ADHD part of me that I need to be working on different projects. But you do need to narrow down and really hone in my opinion, in like one discipline. Uh, Maybe it's kitchens or additions, and that should be your bread and butter. What would you do if you do kitchens, bathrooms, extensions, and dormers? Are you a design build are you a firm that, okay, this is a good question. So what we did, I started out as a general remodeler. In my area, I did basements, kitchens, baths, additions, and I would do windows, siding, roofing. Okay. And then after about a year and a half, I noticed that I was building other people's designs and I was being dictated how much I should charge because the designer would say, "Well, your contractor should only charge like 100,000 for that addition." And I was like, "I'm not having that happen again." So we brought design in-house and I became a design build company. So now when the homeowner meets with me, I have the designer who I subcontract. We come out, we draw up the design, and then I explain to them what the price is. If that makes sense. I don't usually work for someone else's design. I typically bring my designer in and work for my design. And that made a huge difference for us. So when you're talking like extensions and dormers, I would, and here's the thing, you can work with the same designers potentially. You just flip the script on them. Hopefully your marketing is generating the lead. And then you explain to the designer, hey, the way this is going to work in the future is, you know, I'm the lead, you are the designer, but I lead how much it's going to cost to do the job. I don't know your story, but I know a lot of guys, they're the tail in the situation. The designer's dictating to them how much they should charge. So I would potentially stick with that. Does that make sense? Would do you can you see a world where you would be able to do that, or is that out in left field or not work for you in your area? Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, it here's what I find happens, and you guys can. Yes, here's hold on a second. Let me. So this is a set of plans for an addition, right? We're putting onto the back of a house. Now, that's not my company. That's the designer, but the designer works for me, and then the homeowner hires us as a package. So when I meet with the homeowner, explain to them, Mr. and Miss Smith, what's awesome about hiring me is I'm the only one you hire for the entire process. I take care of the design, the structural engineering, all the permitting, all the planning, all the producing, all the management, all the work, all the materials. Like I'm one guy. I take care of everything. So you don't have to deal with anyone else. Except maybe the inspector. You might have to sweet talk the inspector, maybe bake some cookies the morning the inspector's coming over, we give them that way so we pass. You know what I'm saying? But no. So when we handle the entire process, I have a lot more control over all the pricing and all the flexibility and the convenience. The homeowners don't. This is, you guys, if you've been in construction, you know that this works. This is the experience for most homeowners. They end up hiring an architect, a designer, and then they try to find the contractor. And there's always, between the three of them, right? You, the homeowner, the designer, architect, almost you never can agree. The designer wants you to do some whacked out job that like looks beautiful, but yet is the most effed up and complicated process in the world. You're going, this is asinine that we're even trying to do this. Whereas when the designer works for you, you tell the designer, look, the homeowner wants that wall opened up, and this is how we're going to do it because this is how we build it. Right now, they obviously put their spec and they tell you the load dimensions. But what I explained to them, do you see what I'm saying? If you're an experienced builder, you probably have experienced this frustration of being told to do some stupid stuff by a designer. And when you end up when the designer works for you, that doesn't happen. Yeah, sure. But so anyway, so yes, if you're a general service remodeler, I 100% recommend you stick with that, but become the design build guy. That's the only shift I would make. Bring it all in house. Yeah, I could only imagine what it's like to dealing with metal fabrication. We don't like, yeah, like especially if there's overhead welding and things like that. Like you just want to be in control of all that. You don't want it being dictated to you. Because here's what happens. The homeowner says to the designer, well, what's that going to cost? And then the designer just throws out some bullcrap number. And now everyone has to meet that number. And it's almost never what it really costs. We just opened an office, so the next step is design. Yeah. And look, this design build process, it doesn't add any extra cost. This designer, they're a subcontractor. I just pay them their design fee. And the way we sell design, if you've watched some of my content, is you don't do a free estimate. You sell a design package. And then so the homeowners, like if you're doing a kitchen, like that could be $2,500 to have it designed. And the homeowner's paying you $2,500. You're bringing in the kitchen designer. You pay them their fee. Let's say it's $250, $500. And then obviously you're going to order the cabinets through them. That's where they're going to make their real money. But you do the design part, you get paid for that independently. Then when they're now ready to hire for the actual production, the project, you can deduct the design fee off of the build fee. And what ends up happening, if you follow me here, if you can sell the design first, you're almost 100% a lock for the project, because this is how we explain it. Mr. and Ms. Smith, we want you to hire us for the design first. That's number one. That's key. Once we have a design, we're going to be able to come up with your price. And then what you could do, if you want, you can take this design. We give it to you. It's yours. You can shop it around town all you want and talk to other, but I get it designed the way that works best for my company so that we can build it the best. And whatever, I don't care. You can have 20 other contractors look at it, and some of them might be better than me, whatever. Their price might be better, but none of them are going to discount the design fee back to them, because that's what I'm doing. So you see what ends up happening? The homeowner wants to get the design fee credited back. And we should have built a really good relationship during the entire design process, so that in their mind, they don't want to work with anyone else. They don't even want to get to know another contractor. So we end up being a lock for the project. And now I got paid to do the design, I got paid to do the estimate, and now I get paid to do the production. Davis, what would be your role? Help me understand. Where in that equation are you? Yeah, I'm not doing anything like nefarious. Like, I'm literally giving the homeowner the best possible solution for the entire process. When are you are you a GC when you say design and sale? Like, are you the actual general contractor? You just don't have any in-house guys, so everything's subcontracted? Is that what you're saying? Are you like a sales agent, like just a building like a remodeling salesperson? Like in my state, we can you can get licensed as just a salesperson for home improvement. So there's the general contractor license for the guy who's going to do the work. If you get that license, you also get the sales license. You technically have two, so you can build and sell. Or you can just get the salesperson's license to sell home improvement, which means you can only sell it, you can't do it. And there's a lot of guys that have that license. So they sell the job and then they just network with the GCs. Is that the angle that you're taking? You wouldn't you would just sell the job? Exactly. No self-respecting homeowner would. Yeah. Um, Not a GC, just electrical con. So, well, Davis, here's the thing. If you're going to be the real estate investor, um, you're actually going to be, in my opinion, you're going to probably act as a GC. Um, so if it's your own, these would be your own projects. Like if I'm buying, if I like, Let me see. Hold on. So when I first got started, I think similar to what you might do. I was the investor. I bought the house. I had no contractor's license. Now in my state, if I own the property and I want to remodel it, rehab it, build on it, fix it up, I don't have to have any licenses. I might have to hire a licensed tradesman, plumber, electrician for certain aspects. But as far as the general construction, as long as I can get it to pass code and I'm the homeowner, I can do a self build. Okay. So alls I would do if I was building a rehab or an addition, I would hire the designer, right? I work off of plans. So I get the designer to come out. We scope out what we're doing. They give me the design. Then I start subbing out so I don't do footers and foundations. I might dig the footer. I can run a backhoe fine, but I'm not typically finishing all the concrete. So I would probably hire a block guy, mason guy to do the foundation, right? So I would just start GCing it that way. Build. So if you're going to do new build, yeah, you're going to so there's a couple ways to do new build. You're either going to the most for you, the most cost effective way as the real estate investor is going to be to hire the individual trades independently and probably just hire somebody to GC it for you. If you don't GC it yourself. Whereas if you hire a builder, which is fine, but the builder's going to want to do most builders don't want to work off of your plans. They're going to want to work off of their plans. Now, I could be mistaken in your area. But they're going to charge you more if they're working off of your plans, most likely. So if your goal, if this is if this is for you, like if this is your investment, are you keeping this house or flipping it, renting it? What's the end goal when the project's complete? This property, let's say. Okay, so if you're listing it to sell, yeah, I think for you the best here's you're gonna want to find a really good framing contractor, and then you're gonna want to find a designer that understands and has worked some construction so that they build. Here's the problem: you have a lot of designers that go to school and they're artsy types, and they want to create these nice fandangled designs, and they're complicated. And so it creates a lot of extra expense to everyone. It's complicated for the framers. It's complicated for the roofers. It's complicated for the foundation guy. So that's why a lot of these custom home builds are extravagant. If you're an investor, you want simple. Keep it simple, stupid, right? And you just want to add a little bit of architectural flair, but not crazy architectural structure. So, you'll do a dormer here and something there, but you'll keep the building envelope, the foundation simple so that all your costs are simple. Yes, Jay Allen, good point. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, you bring in all the individual key players. Yeah. So just work with a designer that's going to give you and explain to them that the goal, and they can do this. You want it to be aesthetically pleasing, so it has to have curb appeal from the front and has to be very functional and simple to build. We want to do all basic construction. We don't want to overcomplicate it just so that we don't want our designer to try to win some award for the innovations that they're having us build inside of a spec home that we're trying to sell. I mean, if you can like just look at some of your if you have like a Lennar, any big custom track home builder, I would tour on the weekends. I would go to the job sites and I would tour all the phases, get a set of plans for one of the houses, tell them you're interested in buying something, and I would copy a lot of what the big home builders are doing because and now I'm not talking custom, I'm talking track homes because they've figured out the system already, and they've already squeezed every bit of complication typically out of a lot of these track homes. So it should be very straightforward. And you could probably simplify a lot of some of the guys get a little over the top with these roof structures because they think it adds curb appeal. Um, so I would be cautious with how complicated your roofs start getting. So, but yeah, you could make some good money if you can get the property at a good price. And you can get through the process of getting the permits, you'll make good money. You'll probably want to hire a permit expediter. There's people, if you're aware of this or not, you might already know about it. You're probably going to have to jump through some hurdles to get your permits. So you should ask around in your local area who the expediters are. And these are people that just get permits for builders. And I would hire them to get you through the permit process if it's your first time. Because their fee is going to save you tons of time, energy, and headaches. So, in many jurisdictions that we would build, we hire the permit expediter to get us the permits. Even though I'm capable, like I can go online and fill out the stuff. The problem is there's too many. It's in my area at least. It's become way over regulated and way over complicated. Um, I'm struggling to get a permit right now on our new property with my girlfriend um, for just a large structure we're building out in the backyard. Because we live on the water and we have like flood issues, like they want me to have like all these extra flood vents and tie downs. And like anyway, it's crazy the hoops that you have to jump through. It's just easier to hire somebody who navigates that every single day. Now, after like your 10th house, you could do it on your own. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, everybody has their niche, their experience. My brother-in-law, he works for a wetlands company in the area. Like he does these big, if you ever see those retention ponds that communities have to build, and they put them on the high off the highways around like where the exits are, these retention ponds. He's involved in that. So we're working with him to get our permit because he knows all the people at the EPA for my area. All these agencies that I have to work with to get the permit. We're just using him. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I tried at first. I'll be honest. We tried, and we ran into a ton of headaches. So we ended up succumbing to his expertise. So even I have to learn the hard way. You would think I would know better after all these years, but so hopefully that answers everybody's questions. I know I bounced around a little bit, so if I didn't fully address your question, please let me know. Okay. Uh, Jayon, we should be partners because you help reassure and let everybody know that the smart decision from day one. Yeah, you know, there's always like in any industry, there's always the learning curve. You have to understand when it's what things you're willing to take on and learn the profit tax by you learning how to do it yourself versus sometimes like I never want to be a permit person. I could care less if I know how to get them or not. I am happy to pay someone to get me the permit. So but that might not be your goal. Your goal might be to become a permit expert. So everybody's going to have their skill set and things that they want to achieve in life. And I can't say one's better than the other. Davis, I wouldn't look at it that way. And please hear me when I say this. Everyone's cost per square foot is going to vary. You just have to look at, if it were me, I would meet with a couple realtors and get a good understanding for the market because it's changed in the last 6 months. But I don't know if you're familiar with this, just like put a thumbs up and I'll shut up. I don't want to preach to the choir, as they say. But all the realtors, a good realtor has access to the MLS, multiple list service. They're going to be able to pull comps. Comps are all the recent properties that were listed and did not sell, that were listed and are under contract, and have listed and sold. And they can pull. I wouldn't recommend pulling unless you have nothing. Hopefully you have comps, meaning something has been on the market. It's either not sold, it is selling, or has sold. And hopefully if they look for you for the last 6 months to a year, if you can find like 4 or 5 examples, that's going to let you know your cost that you're going to sell the house for. All right. Then you work backwards. Now you start pricing what it's going to cost to build a house that lets you make the profit that you need to make that's worth the risk of getting involved in this whole shenanigans in the first place. So look at the end number first. What am I going to be able to sell the property for? Explain to them, I want to build the exact same dimension house that you just explained to me. And you show them the lot that you're putting it on, and they'll be able to tell you based off of historical data, most likely you'll be able to sell that house for X. And then you work backwards and you start adding up all your costs. Are you Silverleaf? Are you able to get onto the YouTube? I can show you something. I have a spreadsheet, like a visual that you could use to get that. I'm stubborn. Yeah. Hey, Jay. I'm sorry, Mr. Goat, Justin. Yeah, I'm stubborn the same way. I've lost a lot of money having to because I want to learn myself. Right now, if you stay in the industry, that learning curve in the beginning will pay for itself down the road. So yeah, it's good. That stubbornness can serve you well. Also, sometimes you have to recognize, like, stay in your lane. That's all I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just don't need to know it. It's not going to help you. So have a balance. True. I'm open-minded, so I like shutting up sometimes. Just letting knowledge is power. Yeah. I can only give you my suggestions. The cost per square footage thing is it's so hard to produce because prices is so regional now. And there's such, like, in the 1970s, the same style ranch home was being built across America for the most part. So it was very easy to have that $65 per square foot, typically, 45 in some markets, 85 in others. But the market has changed. Building a house is not like buying a cell phone. There's just way too many variables. I don't even know what you might have $40,000 in impact fees, just getting your permit, right? I don't know if you have sewage hookups, if you're going to be putting in a septic system. Are you going to have to dig a well? Are you going to have to pay the power company 20 grand just to get power from the street to the house? 40 grand, 60 grand. So like when you're building a house, there's just so many variables. Are you putting in a driveway? Is it going to be, are you in a rural area so you can do gravel? Are you in a metropolitan so you're going to have it paved? Yeah, exactly. Most around my area can be anywhere. Yeah. So what I have a good friend of mine works for one of the nation's like most successful builders in our area. He's been there a long time, and I can share what this builder does. They build a very basic home, except they make the outside front look beautiful. Okay, so they'll throw on an extra dormer. They'll do that front wall offset a little bit, right where the front of the house either is set back a foot or two where you walk in, or it's right. They do that. Everything from the front is different. All the sides and the back almost always completely straight, except they'll sell bump outs as additions, but that's always extra. Now, they'll do 9-foot ceilings across the board. They always do a great room with a float in kitchen. They always do the master bath suite with dual walk. Typically now it's dual walk-in closets. So where I'm going with this is, think about the way the homeowner is going to live in the house. Now, they are putting in bare bones kitchen cabinets, bare bone vanities, a nice mirror, a nice light fixture just in the bathroom, the master. And they're typically adding a little bit of molding in the foyer area, the great room, and that's it. They're adding just a little bit of flair and gingerbread to the first part of how you walk in and approach a house. The rest of it is bare bones. I mean, it's built, it's even like the cabinets are absolute trash. But what they'll do often is buy the molding package. They'll add the light bar, possibly. They'll do a two-piece built up crown. So they end up making this piece of crap kitchen cabinet look a lot nicer. Okay. But everything else is bare bones. If you walk into one of these houses and you have nice stuff, you paid upgrades for everything. Yeah, so 1,500 square feet, you're probably not going to have a huge master walk-in. Good point. Yes, thank you for correcting. But try to do a more modern design. That's all. Like the floor plan. Try to have it. I don't know if like who are you? What neighborhood are you selling to? You got to ask the. So here's another thing a realtor can tell you: who is the typical home buyer in the neighborhood that I'm about to build my house? So I have a guy in Florida right now, and he is crushing it. And what he is doing is building in-law suites into every house. At 1,500 square feet, that might not be an option. But what I want to point out is he recognized that there's a hole in the market. Nobody else is building um, houses on the lower end with in-law suites. So he has been crushing it. He buys the lots, builds the house, and builds it with and they all have that ADU or in-law suite essentially. And he's crushing it. And they're not huge properties. I don't know if they might be 1,800 square feet. I feel like I shouldn't say anything because I'm not certain, but I know they're not very large. But anyway, where I'm going with this is, if you talk with the realtor, if understand who most likely the buyer. So this is what's awesome about working with a good realtor. The realtor can tell you, "Hey, Davis, if you build this, I already have like 3 people that would probably be interested in buying it because they can't find it anywhere else on the market." So you'll already know what to build typically if you work with a good realtor. And when I say a good realtor, somebody that is a full-time professional realtor, not uh, don't and I don't mean to offend anyone if you're a school teacher and you do real estate on the side in the summer. I get that. I may not talk to that person unless they're super sharp. Generally, I'm trying to talk to a very sharp, go-getter, aggressive agent that really understands the marketplace, right? And I have a great realtor and I can talk with him. Perfect. Yeah. So offer to take them out to lunch or go golfing or breakfast, whatever you guys do, whatever is cool for them. Have a social event with them and then pick their brain. Say, hey, I either bought this lot or I'm buying this lot. Tell me what to do so that it'll sell right away. And they'll tell you, they know the market. They'll say, if you build this and you price it at that, I can bring you buyers. A lot of guys this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to build the house that you think is cool because you've always liked it and want to build it. That's the way to not do well. You build the house that the consumer in your area wants at the price point that you can and the size that you can put out onto the marketplace. Okay. Yeah. Look, I had to learn the hard way. When my very first investment property, I mean, was a 1920s colonial, big square colonial in a nicer part of our city. And, we went in, gutted it. I bought it through a HUD auction, bought it on Christmas Eve years ago, and then won the auction and then said, oh shit, now what do I do? And at first, I made a lot of the rookie mistakes. I built it the way I thought the house should be. Like this would be cool, that would be cool, and it presented problems when we were trying to get this. I could have sold it for more had I listened to someone else that says, "Mike, this is what is needed in the neighborhood." That's all. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. In my area, it's gotten ridiculous. It's gotten to the point where it's almost hard to be competitive. And even part of the reason why we're having a housing crisis in America is a lot of jurisdictions have gone overboard with permitting and impact fees to the point where the builder can't put out a lower quality product, a low end product, or a smaller product. So the only way to make money in building is to build more of these McMansion style homes, which not everyone can even afford, nor does everyone want. But when you're paying 40 to 60 grand just in impact fees, and then you want to try to put out a product at like 500 grand, it's awful. It's very challenging. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Now you guys are funny. That's exactly right. So just be careful, Davis. That's all I'm saying. Make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into and understand the numbers. The game's easy when you understand it's plug and play, right? Like when we buy a property, we already know what we're going to put into it based off of the neighborhood that it's in and the person that we already have an idea of who's going to buy it. It really does become that predictable. Now there's always outliers, but by and large, you can kind of predict who's going to move in and what they're going to look for. You too. Thanks for tuning in. Mm. All right. Well, I don't know who all's still on or off. If anybody has any question, otherwise, I think we'll wrap up. You guys have been great. Mr. Goat, I want to hear how many more lighting projects you've landed over. I hope you land like 2 or 3 over the weekend. All right. Yeah, Jay, take it easy, Just. Hey, so Jay, what are you saying that you thought on rehab later? Okay, Mr. Goat, 2 calls, good. That's your goal, brother. Just focus on landing a couple of those projects every week. Get yourself go into the new year with some cash so that you can really, take this business and move for 2026. That's what I'm offering or suggesting for you. Yes. You know, just get as many of these lighting jobs as you can. Mm. Yeah, I mean, I tell you, it's funny that you're bringing this up. I literally recorded another video today about telling contractors that they should recognize their skill in the marketplace, because here's what happens. Most guys are talented, and you have all the tools, you have all the knowledge, you know how to do all the work, and yet we don't do the things that could make us a lot of money. We'll end up like getting beat up on our price and working for some real estate investor or some realtor who's, rehabbing a house, and they're beating us up so that they can make all the profit. And then guys are agreeing to do the work for pennies, and the realtor's the one walking away with all the money. And yet they would never have all that money if they didn't have us doing the work. It's like, it's crazy. Like, I, I I know guys are scared, but at a certain point you have to recognize, whoa, whoa, whoa. I I need to like work out a deal where I'm getting a part of the profit, or at least I'm getting paid more to do the work. Or how do I start getting into doing the work myself? You know, it's I get it. Not everyone can manage a project, nor does everyone want to. But basically, if you understand construction to the point where you're in remodeling, and it just baffles me how many guys are willing to work for nothing for an investor. That's all. I'll shut up, but that's just so. But yeah, it's a unique skill set. I can tell you that the average person doesn't know how to do it. Yeah, you know what? I think, Jay Allen, if you're just when you're open to it, and you let people know that you're looking for a rehab, and I can tell you how I've have found many of mine. I literally own houses I've bought. So when I get a house in a neighborhood, I go introduce myself to all the neighbors. And I say, you guys have a nice house here. If you ever think about selling, would you give me a call? I'd like to talk to you about it. And maybe we could work something out without a realtor getting involved. And I've been able to acquire other houses in the neighborhood before anyone even knows it's for sale, because they called me first, and we just worked it out between the two of us, no real estate agent. They get a very fair price. I don't have to pay the realtor's commission, and I don't have to get caught up in all kinds of bidding wars and complications. A lot of times nobody else even knows it was for sale until I've already bought it. It doesn't always work that way, but if you're driving around town, or if you are out for a walk one day, or if you take the dog out and you see something, or you're on the way to the store and you decide to drive like on some back roads, and you know what I'm talking about. If you see the house that's just in disrepair or looks like it's vacant, you can just start there by asking the neighbor, or, hey, who owns this? How do I get in touch with the owner? Let me see if they want to sell it. You'll be shocked. That's how there's guys, it's called bird dogging and wholesaling. And there are literally guys and girls, they make a fortune. That's all they do all day long is they find a house that somebody doesn't want. They buy the house under an assignable contract. What that means is they're not going to be the end buyer. They are just negotiating the deal right now. Like if you had your house, Jay Allen, and you were in dire straits and wanted to get rid of it, I come up to you and say, I'll give you 50,000 for it. And then I turn around, I sign a contract with you, but then I turn around and I sell your contract that you and I signed to another guy for 150,000. Right? That's how a lot of these guys, and then that guy will come fix it up, flip it, and then make his money. And then he sells it to the next homeowner. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it can be. You can make, there's risk, but you can also make money if you have the mindset for it. And you don't, if you don't live in chaos. Some contractors live in too much chaos. That's all. But if you're organized and have your stuff together, um, I know quite a few guys that supplement their full-time construction business with buying houses and fixing them up and renting them, selling them, whatever your cup of tea is. But just getting paid more than working for the real estate investor up directly. That's what I'm saying. All right. All right. Well, thanks for joining. Say hi to your father. He's probably asleep by now. And we'll see how tomorrow goes. Again, I'm not certain how it's going to work out at all. But hopefully I can get on for a few minutes tomorrow. All right. Thank you, Jay Allen. I appreciate you being here. Justin, thank you. Yeah. 100. It can be. It's worked out well for me. I can, so investing is definitely, um, it's afforded me some nice things. So anyway, and I've made a ton of mistakes. All right. Have a great night. See you guys.